This is the Sage Dose Control Pro, and this is the Geimori T38 Plus. Two wonderful names, full of too many words, but they are both coffee grinders. I want to get to grips with both of these and understand if either of them are right for you. By the way, this is also known as Breville in other parts of the world. The machine is the same otherwise. I bought this machine with my own money. I bought a refurbed unit and it looks to be in absolutely perfect condition. Meanwhile, the T38 Geimori, I was sent for review purposes. I'm not instructed what to say. I'm going to say whatever I like about it. So first of all, to the brass tacks of the tech specs. You can see the height difference between the two. This is obviously nearly half as tall again as the Geimori here. This one is specifically designed to be a travel grinder. It does require plugging in. It's not battery enabled. They do have a battery version. The Sage are clearly designing this to sit on the counter, as it does usually over there next to my Sage Bambino Plus. I bought them together as a twin pack. You've got 60 stepped settings. You've got a very fine espresso grind all the way through to your V60, up through mocha pots and cafetières, plus a timer function which is adjusted here. Push the button to go. On the Geimori, it has 65 markers, but it's stepless, i.e. you're not going click, click, click. You're rotating around all the way. They both use conical burrs, those pyramidical shaped wheels that crunch the beans into dust for you, which are generally regarded as the best way to go for most home grinders. I specifically bought the Dose Control Pro because I wanted that coarser grind, so I've got the flexibility to move between espresso based drinks and more steeping drinks like cafetiere and pour over. With the Dose Control Pro, you get their razor tool designed to mark off the top, i.e. scrape down enough coffee to get it to the right level for you, and a pair of these forks designed to hold a portafilter in place so that you can grind straight into your basket or portafilter. It's quite hard to do from behind, but usually this is quite easy. That's really in terms of accessories. The Geimori, being a travel companion, has a removable lid with a rubber ring so that spare grinds and fines aren't getting out into your luggage. The dosing cup removes and rather pleasingly magnetised on the bottom, so it will slide into the right place. You'll get a brush and you'll also get a bellows so that you can pump out any excess grinds left in the hopper. Here's an example of all the grind sizes, stopping 2 or 3 times along the way with the Sage. And here's an example of the grind sizes, again stopping roughly the same proportions round the dial with the Geimori. Purists and experts will tell you that stepless is the better way to go, i.e. you can just keep turning the dial all the way until you find the setting you want, as opposed to the 60 predetermined places on the Sage. But in reality, for most of us, you're not going to, in the day-to-day use, you're not really going to see the difference. You'll find the 2, 3, 4 settings that you like to move between and do that. For example, I found somewhere between 5 and 10 makes a really nice espresso shot for me, and way up into sort of 45, 50 works really well for cafetiere, and they're the 2 main methods of coffee brewing I use. Meanwhile, with the Geimori, again, there's about 2 settings that I personally prefer. You can also get the optional travel case, which is a great way of, if you are intending to move this machine around and take it with you. It's bulky-ish, certainly bigger than a hand grinder or AeroPress carry case, but it is at least a very well designed case that will fit absolutely all of the parts in. The Sage has a timer function that you can adjust on the front. As you press the button, it will just go through and stop when it hits the end of your timer. Of course, just press it again if you want some more coffee out. The Geimori, however, is a push button operation. Push it in and it will just keep grinding forever until you turn it off again. Now the Sage, it does have a couple of problems. So, as you would when I first bought this machine, I tucked the portafilter holder in and ground away. Now golly, this makes a mess. This blows little fine particles everywhere. It's obviously coffee you've paid for that you're not putting into your mug, which is a bit of a shame. So I found that a few times. I've actually dispensed with doing this and put the portafilter just higher up so that it goes straight into the portafilter, which makes these, frankly, a bit redundant. Maybe I'm using it wrong, but it seems a bit odd that it's just absolutely spraying it everywhere. But reading online, this seems to be a common complaint. It also carries over some of the bean size from one dose to the next. So if you're adjusting from one size grind to another, you'll see that very first flush, that first teaspoon or so, if you've still got a couple of beans left or a little bit left in the machine, you'll get the other size that you weren't expecting, the previous size. So you just need to grind through a few seconds longer when you're done to make sure. You can see here for demonstration I've put the beans in the hopper, which is sort of what Sage designed it for, although a lot of people I know will measure beans and grind accordingly. They'll get your 18 grams or whatever you prefer and grind through it and dose completely, then you won't have that issue. And I know some people recommend you can give them a little spritz with water just to help make sure everything comes down, because that sort of static and cling means they do fly about everywhere. That's one of the advantages of having the bellows with the Geimori. It means after using, you can just pump the bellows a couple of times and you make sure you've shot everything through the mix. What about the coffee they make? Well, hey, they both grind coffee predictably and repeatedly to the same specification. So there's no real difference there. Let's do a timed test. Here's 10 grams of beans grinding to the very finest setting in the Sage. And here's 10 grams of beans grinding through the Geimori. So the Geimori's reasonably slow to grind through that entire lot. It's not the worst thing in the world. You've already committed to the grinding process, which takes a few seconds, and it's not like it's hands-on. You just leave it to do its thing. But if speed is a problem for you, that's worth considering. It's also, a couple of times, I've sort of overwound the grinder on the Geimori and taken the lid entirely off, and then struggled to assemble it back onto the screw thread. It does the opposite direction to what you would expect to screw it back on. The old righty-tighty, lefty-loosey, it's the other way round for this machine. Not the worst thing in the world, but worth bearing in mind. In terms of looks, it's all personal preference. I kind of like the understated nature of the Geimori, the sort of wood effect base. There's some sort of enamel there, and just the very functional brushed steel look. You know, should work anywhere, and its small profile means it's going to look good pretty much anywhere. Meanwhile, the Sage, the design of this one is kind of odd. It's got a kind of, I don't know, 50s American diner look to it. Do you know what I mean? It's smooth, but then these big wide flared parts put me in mind of, like, I don't know, a vintage car or something like that. And yet the hopper doesn't really belong with all the rest of it. It's a very weird design. I don't love it in terms of looks. It does the job, and that's the main thing. In terms of price, this is the Sage Dose Control Pro. It's about £160, £170 from Sage themselves. You can find discounts everywhere, and these also frequently turn up on refurbished markets, which is where I got mine for much less money. So if you're interested, you can take quite a decent gamble. And the Geimori is usually around £200, currently reduced on a Black Friday sale as I record this. Has so far performed exactly as I would expect, and has been very enjoyable to use. I've only been using it a few weeks. Will the burrs still be as sharp in a year's time? That bit I can't tell you just yet. There's not many reviews for it online, so I can't really add any more to that. So there we have the Dose Control Pro and the Geimori T38 Plus. If I was going to choose and buy one today, I'd get the Geimori actually. I like the small profile, and I like the travel kitness, despite the fact mine's going to live on that counter pretty much the entire time. But if you're on the move, I think it pats down very sleekly and looks really nice. I'll pop links for both in the description below. If you have questions about either of these machines, please pop them in the comments and I'll do my best to answer them. I hope that helped, and I will catch you next time.